on matters gender mainstreaming in the livestock industry. And I am speaking with Nelly Njiru, who is a gender and socio-economic expert as well as research officer at International Livestock Research Institute, that is ILRI. Thank you for staying with us.
Thank you, Betty.
Right. Before we took those particular links, you were telling us how gender norms are impacting women's access to the livestock industry.
Yeah, thank you, Betty. It's quite exciting to hear what is happening in Siaya and the planning that is going on.
Yeah.
And my big question is, even to the planning team,
Right.
as they continue planning, what does it mean? And who does what? Even as they talk about rice, they talk about cotton industry. All these are agricultural value chains. But now, who does what in those value chains? Coming from the gender lens, who does what in these value chains? Yeah, who decides? Who takes decisions? Who owns land, for example? Can women benefit? Even after all these efforts that are happening in the county, in Siaya County, what is the space of women? Are they really going to benefit? Yeah,
right. Those are questions that definitely must be asked, right?
Who is going to gain? What losses? So anyway, to take you back to our conversation. Yeah. So at as we do livestock research, and trying to understand the various gender restrictions that face women, as I had earlier highlighted, women face various barriers in terms of access to resources, in terms of ownership of resources. And giving an example, land is a critical productive resource. Women lack access to land. Yeah, they actually lack ownership and also access in terms of deciding on its utilization. So, for example, and this has implications in terms of economic development or development outcomes. So, for example, when a woman cannot access or cannot own, cannot decide about a piece of land in her household, what does that mean to the food security in that particular household? What does that mean to uptake of technologies, including seeds, including vaccines, including, So these are some of the barriers that women face, which need addressing. And that is the work that we are doing at ILRI, amongst other components, like breeding, animal health, nutrition, feeds and forages. But in the team, we are trying to look at gender norms and to co-create solutions with partners to address the root causes of these barriers.
Right.
And I want to distinguish between some of or even still give a few examples of some of the barriers, using case studies from the work that we have done.
Sure, go ahead.
I've just mentioned land. I have mentioned restrictions around livestock ownership. I have also mentioned restrictions around access to market by women. Yeah. So and also restrictions around making public declarations of assets that a woman may own, for example, livestock. And what that means, if a woman cannot publicly declare that I own this chicken, I own this livestock, I cannot take it to the market. A case study in Ghana, what we have seen, when a woman tries to take animals to the market, they will be interjected along the way. They will not even get to the market, with the livestock. Why? They will be accused of having stolen the animals because socially it is unacceptable for
own this.
Exactly, And so these are some of the issues that need addressing when we talk about mobility and participation in leadership and etc. We see restrictions, women's restrictions on mobility. Yeah, it is socially unacceptable for a woman to leave the house. Yeah, actually, the safe space for a woman socially in some communities is the house. Yeah, like recently, there's a study that is ongoing in Bungoma and also in Ethiopia, whereby the primary norm is that the house belongs to the woman, while the home belongs to the man. And so a woman can only own things that are inside the house, the utensils, the pots, the cups, but cannot own
the house.
Things that are outside the house, including the house itself. She cannot even participate in its construction. And what that means is that this woman will not access technologies. Will not access vaccines. Again, we also see that there is male dominance in service provision, whereby men mostly, like for example, if you look at the animal health service provision, that docket in some communities, some here in Kenya and also in other countries like in Ghana, we see that that is a sector that is dominated by men. And what does that mean? To this woman farmer, where you have rightfully said, like in Kenya, women offer 45 to 60% of agricultural labor, but they cannot access the services. You know, I'm supposed to take care of this livestock, but I cannot access an animal health service provider. I cannot access a vet. Yeah.
Right.
So even if an animal is sick, I have to wait for my husband. A woman has to wait for the husband or for the man who has authority in that household to communicate to the vet, call them and come and attend to the sick animal. There's time lapse there.
Right. Right, and of course a lot of losses can happen.
A lot of losses can happen.
Right.
You know?
This reminds me of something that I saw, that a woman was very entrepreneurial. She set up a business. When it started thriving, it was decided that the husband takes over. That was the death of that business, right? So, I mean, from a policy environment, right? You talked about land. From a policy environment, we have had laws that now allow women to own land. But what actually determines that ownership is the cultural norms. So this is the hardest thing to change in humanity. What goes into changing the mentality of an entire society to see that, hey, we can co-own land, men and women equally? What goes into that?
Great. Thank you so much for that very important question. I want to answer that by giving examples of work that we are doing to address these restrictions that women face. Yeah? Policy included. But I want to first talk about approaches that we call gender transformative approaches. We abbreviate them as GTAs.
Okay.
And I want to compare that with gender accommodative approaches, which we abbreviate as GAA. Now, what do these two approaches do? Let me start with GAAs. GAAs are, or the gender accommodative approaches, these are approaches which try to navigate around the challenge. So for example, Betty, you have called a meeting for women, but women cannot, and you've scheduled it in the morning hours. A time like now, women cannot attend your meeting. Why? Because they have household chores. You know, labor burden is the other challenge that women face, yeah?
Right.
Over and above the others I've talked about. They will not attend. So what you do as the facility, as the person organizing, you schedule that meeting at a time when women are likely to be available. For example, maybe in the afternoon, 2 to 4. And then immediately at 4, you make sure that your meeting is over.
Yeah.
You release them to go and attend to the other household chores. Because care work, again, falls on the shoulders of women, which is another barrier that women face to participating in economic activities. And therefore, what you've tried to do, you've not addressed the root cause of this challenge. You've tried to navigate around it. The root cause still stands, but then you're trying to navigate around it. Yeah? Some women will also try and circumvent the problem by being very innovative. So for example, if I cannot own a livestock, I will buy the livestock and I will not let my husband know. I will hide it in my maiden home or with my siblings, yeah, and or even register it in my son's name or my son's name. Or bring the animal home and indicate that, oh, this is a gift from my parents for me to just milk for my children, you know, but it is not mine. Once I finish milking, I will return it to my parents or to my siblings, you know. So that's how they navigate. Now, you try, those are, you know, you see like there are no, maybe the animal health service provision is nominated by men, you bring in women. You know? However, are these women women vets, are they going to be accepted? Probably no, because probably there is a norm whereby women are not allowed to work as vets. Because, like in Ghana we saw, if a woman who is in her menses attends to my animals, there's a belief, and a strong belief that those animals are going to die. Yeah? Okay. And so, as a farmer, I will not allow a woman to come in and handle my animals, you know? So, gender transformative approaches, what do? They try to address the root causes, you know? Yeah. So, like I want to give an example of what we are doing. We engage community conversations, community dialogues, reflective community dialogues, where you bring both women and men together, sometimes separately, for them to question the status quo. you make them reflect on what is happening, and they question what their actions, their beliefs, and then that's a process of critical awareness. You're causing them to think about their issues and what is really, where are they emanating from. And then you probably also couple it or bundle it with gender trainings. You show them the losses that a household is about to encounter if a woman is not allowed to participate, if a woman is not allowed to take decisions, if a woman is not allowed to own resources, yeah? And what benefits they are likely to benefit from or to gain once they bring a woman on board in terms of ownership, in terms of participation, in terms of decision making, and the like. Now, community dialogues. There's other one that we have engaged, the other approach that we have engaged is a transformative approach is social media campaigns. You bring gender champions on studio, like what we are doing now, and they talk about these issues. They talk about the losses. They talk about the benefits of engaging women and allowing women to participate, of reducing those barriers, those restrictions that women are facing. Yeah. You also engage champions. So, for example, I talked about sanctions. Earlier, I had talked about a woman who deviates, or even a man whose wife deviates, is likely to face sanctions. And I'll give an example there. This work is very interesting, yeah? Yeah. Where you find that a man whose woman or wife is deviating from the norm, from the socially accepted behavior, how are they sanctioned? Other men, for example, the recent study that we've done in Bungoma, other men, especially actually young men, during circumcision period, yeah, which is a rite of passage, they will compose a song and integrate this man's name, and it will be sung in all public forums to shame him, to shame this man. Yeah. You know? And what happens? The man will not support the wife in deviating the norm, you know? So it's just a way of silencing the deviators, including their husbands not to support their deviating wives. In Ghana, a woman who deviates, the women, colleague women, are going to compose a song which will be sung in all ceremonies where this woman is expected to attend. Why? To ridicule her. So what happens? A woman will not, no one is going to deviate from the norms because they shy off from facing such harsh repercussions. And therefore, bringing gender champions, and especially including men as champions of change, to talk about these issues, to talk about the benefits, then they become they are able to speak to their peers, yeah? They are able to speak to other women and men, and they see, oh, actually, I think if we relaxed this norm, this restriction that we've put on women, I think we are about to benefit. Yeah, I'm going to talk about benefit in a short while. Right. Yeah.
I can see how passionate you are about this.
Yes, I am.
This topic. Yeah?
Yes, I am.
And it's good that you're actually in the work that matters. Do you see these efforts working?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
And all these case studies I'm giving are out of the work that we've recently implemented and currently also implementing. Like there's a project that ILRI is partnering with Ripple Effect and is working in both Kenya and Ethiopia, the one I've just referred to, and they are using THM model. This is transformative household methodology, whereby they sit a woman, this is household based. Okay. They get to a household, they sit the woman and the man together, a couple, and they talk about who does what in this house, who takes decisions. So they list things that the woman does, they list things that the man does, and they see the gap. So who is doing more? Who is deciding more? How can we bridge this gap? And you ask them, you're having a continuous conversation, yeah, with the two. And somehow, when you bring them to that realization, yeah, I would call it critical conscientization, yeah, critical reflection of what is happening, then you start a process of mind change. So it is actually working. We have seen in Ghana, in terms of the effect of these transformative approaches, whereby initially women were not allowed to own livestock. Initially, women were not allowed to make public declarations of animals they own. Initially, women were not allowed to go to take their animals to the market and sell. But now, upon implementing community dialogues, social media campaigns, and engaging champions, including religious leaders and community leaders, and they are now champions of change, we have seen change. Women began owning the livestock. Women began taking the livestock to the market. Women began making public declarations that they own this livestock. And what does that translate to? The impact of this is that at the woman starts to benefit, because previously women are, you know, such women, when the barriers are not removed, yeah, the women are so dependent on men. In terms of food ingredients, we know food docket is a domain of women in most households in Africa. And now when a woman is economically empowered by the fact that she's able to rear animals, she's able to take the animals to the market as and when she needs the money, she can come back and buy food ingredients. So she can buy makeups. She can go to the salon, she can buy some outfit for the children, she can pay school fees for the children, she can pay medical bills for whoever is sick in the household, and therefore that reduces women's dependence on men. That's number one. Number two, the household food security increases in terms of dietary diversity, in terms of the quantities consumed by members of the household members, that also increases. Yeah, so we are meeting, we are somehow, these interventions are somehow contributing to meeting or goals, you know. No poverty. We are also seeing that we are also increasing, the income of the women is also increasing. The fact that a woman can rear animals, take the animals to the market and get some income, which she can use as she wishes, because now her ability to take decision has also been enhanced, because now we are challenging all these things through transformative approaches. Yeah, why is it that a woman cannot decide? That barrier is somehow, we start addressing that barrier. Now when the woman sells the livestock, she can take decisions, she can decide on the proceeds, yeah, on how to utilize it. If it is livestock in the home, we see that in some contexts a woman cannot eat, like in Ghana, a woman cannot eat, women and girls are not allowed, it was unacceptable for them to eat chicken of all things.
I think it also happens in some communities in Kenya.
Some parts of the chicken cannot be eaten, you know? And so when you challenge some of these things, what does that mean? The woman starts eating the prohibited foods, including chicken or livestock source foods, and that of course improves the diversity of nutrients that are being consumed in that particular household. So there is economic empowerment. Again, if there was a norm or a barrier, that it is unacceptable for a woman to just leave the home, when we bring in the Village Savings and Loans Associations, the VSLAs, and mostly we bring women on board.
Those are the chamas, right?
The chamas, right. Yes. So what you realize is that women are able to share information. Any person who wants to disseminate information to women, or even a technology like vaccines or even seeds to women, can actually access them in good number through those cooperatives or even the chamas, the VSLAs, those table banking things.
Yes, yes.
And again, they are able to save and borrow against their savings. So again, we mitigate or we challenge the aspect of the barrier to accessing affordable financing to women. And they are able to borrow and guarantee themselves and then use that money. And if we couple it with challenging the norm that a woman cannot own livestock, for example, I can borrow the money, go and buy my chicken, and with time, we can have accumulation of assets, whereby the chicken can increase, sell, buy a goat and a sheep, eventually probably buy a cow, you know? So there is that accumulation of assets, gradual accumulation of assets when these challenges are addressed.
Right.
Now, you asked about policies. I think, for example, taking a case scenario of Kenya, I think Kenya, we have very good policies. The biggest challenge is implementation of this and enforcement of some of these challenges. Like, let's look at the land policy in Kenya. It is acceptable for both. It is actually a requirement that both woman and man, a couple, should own land. You know, a man cannot buy land or sell land without the spouse consenting to it. However, we see that, yes, these policies are there. We will buy land with, women will buy land, and I'll become maybe the what do you call them? The not signatory, what do you call them? The witness. Yeah, the wife is going to become the witness. But then the utilization, the decision making, the control over that asset, land, which we have as our family asset, is lacking on the woman. The man will decide how this land is going to be utilized, what is going to be planted where, what is going to be stocked where. So, for example, the study we did in some 4 counties in Kenya, including Western Kenya, and Eastern Kenya, we saw that in as much as improved fodder varieties are availed, like the fodder variety we looked at is Bracharia, women are able to access this fodder variety, but the moment they get home, they cannot plant it, they cannot grow it, because they do not have decision-making ability or power. It is the man, they have to depend on the man to give the authorization or to show them where to plant. Sometimes most men will say, no, I will prioritize my crops, which are the cash crops for the men. So what happens to the woman? So this woman is perennially dependent on this man.
Right. Since you bring that up, I think we are being honest. We are having a conversation that hopes to change people's understanding of gender norms. Maybe someone is sitting at home and wondering, why is there a problem for a woman to depend on a man? So I will throw that very divisive question to you.
Wow.
Why is that a problem?
Interesting question. Now, the work we do in my team is geared towards women's empowerment. And what do we talk? When we talk women's empowerment, what do we really mean? It is that process where women gain power or control to make strategic life choices. So in as much as we are saying that what is the problem of the woman being dependent on the man, is the woman comfortable with that scenario? To always dependent, she wants to buy something for the children, for herself, to go to the salon, to contribute to the chama. She has to depend on the husband for that support. Are they comfortable with that situation? It's a very interesting question, because even as we are exploring these things, it has come to a realization that actually some women are very comfortable with the status quo, and probably because they do not know any other side of the, they do not know the other side of the coin, how that would look like, because they have been socialized. Yeah, these things have been normalized in the society, and they think it is normal. For example, it is normal, some women, like in Ethiopia and also in Kenya, they think it is normal for a woman to be beaten by the husband, in as much as we have a law against domestic violence, but as the woman, there's this socialization that if the man doesn't beat me, he doesn't love me. And it's also taken by some communities as a rite of passage. A newlywed woman has to be beaten by the husband as a rite of passage. And because if the woman doesn't go back to the maiden home, then this is a resilient woman. She will stay in this marriage. So it is a rite of passage to prove a point. Yeah. So it is an aspect of, are the women aware of the other side of the coin? And that is now why our work comes in partnership, of course, with NGOs and governments, and to try and make them aware, create this critical awareness, reflection and reflective dialogues where they critically question how things are being taken, are happening, and now try and co-create solutions together. Yeah? Yeah. Yes.
Yes, I hear you. Just to put it out there that I am a feminist and very much in support of equal access to opportunities, yeah? So you were talking about policies and the way changing these things, of course it doesn't happen overnight. The steps are going to take maybe even generations to achieve. What do you foresee happening in the near future?
Yeah, good question. I think it's an aspect of small, little baby steps towards the right direction, which will get us where we want or we desire to be in future. So for example, if we have projects speaking to each other and with a common goal, that the common goal is women's and girls' empowerment to achieve sustainable development goal number 5. What are the baby steps that we need? What are the steps, the critical steps? Let me not call them baby steps. The critical steps or strategies that we require to get there. Yeah? And then once we keep implementing these tested interventions, tested models, like the gender transformative approaches that I've just highlighted, if we keep implementing them in different scenarios, cumulatively, we will get there. Yeah, we will achieve. We may take a couple of years to achieve equality, but it's not an aspect of having equality really. It's an aspect of you know, enhancing equity with the end goal being equality. Yeah. So keep implementing these tested strategies, these tested and promising transformative approaches, because cumulatively they are going to get us to where we desire.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the interventions, of course, includes having personnel that are in these particular value chains. Say agriculture, for example, agricultural sciences. We know that there is a very big discrepancy in terms of the numbers of men versus women who are taking up STEM subjects. And yourself, you're one of those few women who actually are in this field. I would like to hear from you maybe what you are doing at ILRI and even as an individual to bring more women into agriculture sciences projects.
Thank you so much. Yes, ILRI has a capacity development unit which engages graduate fellows, both women and men, and also mentorship programs. So for example, there are mentorship programs with the high schools, the secondary schools around, yeah, whereby those girls are called and they are given a tour of our institution. They're taken to the labs, you know, and they see other women who are working in that domain to just motivate them. And then we also have conversations. There are conversations with these young girls who are in schools, and to just mentor them, to just inspire them, to just probably change their mindsets. Yeah. So those are some of the things that are happening to just try and do capacity building. Also, we do capacity building of colleagues, because again, we cannot work in isolation. Yeah. So ILRI tries to, the gender team at ILRI tries to work with other programs, yeah, other colleagues, and also build their capacity on the importance of integrating gender, yeah, or mainstreaming gender in all the activities. So somehow that aspect of capacity building of the young people and also of colleagues in this matter is happening. Yeah. Right.
And what would be your rallying call to maybe the industry, academia as well, in terms of building this capacity?
I would say there's need to think transformative. There's need to think inclusion. Yeah. Being more inclusive. Yeah. Even for the industries, for whichever sector. The questions, the critical, pertinent questions that need to be asked is what we are doing, who is it benefiting, and how? Who is benefiting, who is losing? What are the benefits? So if it is a technology that a particular organization is working to develop, let's say vaccines, yeah? This end product, who is going to use? Who is it going to benefit? Who is going to adopt? Because again, you'll bring the product, yeah, and that is why there's need to co-create solutions, not working, thinking that this is what we need to, this is the problem, but bringing evidence, yeah, working on creating evidence-based solutions, and that is why research is very critical, because research brings this evidence and disseminates to partners who are maybe working on various solutions, and there's that partnership, or there's that co-creation of these solutions. And of course, when these critical questions are asked, whatever I am doing, who is going to benefit? Who is it for? What are the losses? When those questions are asked and probably answered, then I think we will get towards inclusivity. Because again, when you see a product, this is a product, are women going to access it the same way as the men? If this is a product, this phone, once it is in the market, who is going to access it? Are the young girls going to access it? Are the young boys going to access it? Are the men going to access it? Are the women going to access? Do they have an equal chance? When those questions are asked, if there's this fodder technology, once it is out and released, who is going to benefit? I've heard about what CIA is doing, and they want to revamp the rice production and the cotton production. At the end of the day, who will be doing what? Is it going to increase the labor burden of the women who are already burdened? You know, are we going to increase more work on the women who are already shouldering so much? When the benefits come, or no, even when the seeds come, are the women going to have the ability to adopt them and grow them where they wish? Can they decide on that aspect of land utilization, or the man will say, oh, I'm going to do sugarcane on my land as my cash crop. I'm the household head, period. So what happens? Is the adoption rate of this technology going to happen? So these are some of the things that need to be addressed through transformative approaches. Call the stakeholders, all the stakeholders on board, community leaders, you know, investors, private and public investors, bring them on board. Let this conversation happen. And I'm glad that we have a conference coming up.
Right. Tell us about it.
This is a conference that is happening next month. It's happening in Cape Town from 7th to 9th of October. And this is a conference, this is a platform actually, an international platform, which will bring different people on the table to discuss, to share experiences, to share strategies that are promising, that have been tested, like examples I've been sharing, and to also think what should be the direction, what direction should we take in terms of policy, in terms of interventions, you know, those promising or those interventions that have not worked. What are the challenges? Yet they can actually be transformative. What are the challenges? So this conference is happening in Cape Town, as I have said, from 7th to 9th, and it will bring academia, you know, scientists, researchers from academia, from NGOs, from also the national research institutions, and policymakers as well, and local representatives of the local community, because again, even when you think interventions, who are you intervening for? These farmers are very critical, you know. We need to have at least their participation also to get their views and to see what is happening, and even for them to know what is happening. And that is why I've been talking about co-creation, you know. And so this conference has different themes. It is actually focusing on shifting gender norms, just as we've been talking about the gender and social norms. It's also the other theme is advancing women's empowerment in agri-food systems. And probably you need to ask why the agri-food system, you know? Again, the other theme is effective strategies and innovations for enhancing resilience, livelihoods in food, land and water systems. And then also strategies to strengthen the leadership, the voice and influence of women, youth, indigenous people and socially excluded groups in food, land and water systems. And finally, making agri-food systems more inclusive and empowering women and youth.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course, we are looking forward to hearing the outcomes of that particular conference. And just before we close, you are a researcher, and we know that a big problem in Africa is lack of or limited access to research funding. I need your comment on that and give us your closing remarks while at it.
Wow, that's a tough question. Yeah. Yes, I think, yeah, that's a difficult question for me, yeah. Okay. But I think there are positive efforts and opportunities and also partners who see the value of research. Because again, we are saying that interventions or any programming needs to be evidence-based. So there are organizations, there are partners who see the need and the value of research, because then decisions must be based on evidence. And therefore, for those that, and it's a good number, for those that see the need for this evidence, they are actually bringing in the funds towards this good cause of availing the evidence.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. 30 seconds for your closing remarks, please.
Maybe what I would say is, for my parting shot, is that I think I would want to say 3 things. Yeah? That it is critical. It is not enough to work around inequalities. to work around what causes the gender gaps. It is not enough, but it is critical to change the structures, the root causes of those inequalities. That's number one. Yeah. Again, innovations must be paired with inclusion. Any innovation must think about who. Those questions that I've asked. Who? It's for who? How? Who is going to benefit? Who is going to lose? And how? Yeah. Again, this needs to combine social interventions, like the gender transformative approaches that I've been talking about, with technical solutions, like availing the vaccines, or maybe using drones to distribute vaccines to the last mile, but combining that to enhance adoption and access to this technology with the social component of transforming, addressing the root causes of the inequalities. Finally, women and youth are not just laborers. We shouldn't look at women and men as just laborers. They are innovators, they are entrepreneurs, they are decision makers, and they must be brought to the table. Thank you.
They must be brought to the table. Thank you very much, Nelly. I enjoyed having this conversation with you.
Thank you.
Asante. That is Nelly Njiru. She is a gender socioeconomic expert and research officer at International Livestock Research Institute, ILRI, and we have been talking about gender mainstreaming in the livestock industry and how it is important to ensure that women have the opportunities and access to credit as well as land to ensure that they are also having livelihoods that are thriving as well as reducing poverty in their communities.